Hello, Steve White, Trekboy89, Steve Arts 89. I hate myself for this, I do, but I watched a Doomcock video. Now, I didn't actually give him a view, but I did actually watch a video. Now, I said a New Year's Eve resolution that I wouldn't watch any of the Fandom Menace chuds, and I haven't. It's been 10 months, but I saw this title for a Doomcock video that came up in my feed on my page. I'm just like, on my channel, I'm just like, it sounds like he's just regurgitating videos he's made before, where it's like, you know, Kurtzman supposedly has been fired, and the conflict between him and Paramount executives, or now the new Skydance overseas, is so bad that it nearly came to physical violence. Because I'm like, that sounds just like the story he told a couple of years ago, where he was so upset with the studios getting involved with the production, trying to sort of, you know, change the production to what they wanted, and he was walking around the studio angry and, you know, smashed a screen with his fist or something of a TV or something, and just, it sounded ridiculous, it sounded over the top, and I'm like, is Doomcock just a bad writer, or is he trying to write something so ridiculous that no one will believe it so he doesn't get sued? Like, which is it? But it just sounded like he was regurgitating the same story as before, and I thought, I just want to see if it's the same story, he just thinks people are too stupid to sort of realise that's what he's doing. And there's a little bit of that. But he does seem to go over what we've already heard from other people. Supposedly, Skydance is looking at Paramount. They've fired a bunch of people, and they're reassessing everything. And they're not happy where Star Trek's going. They don't want Kurtzman, but they can't get out of the contract because Kurtzman ended up with this amazing, unbeatable contract, which seemed to be revenge from Moonves, because he was being Me Too'd. He hated Paramount, he hated Star Trek, and he knew Star Trek was Paramount's biggest moneymaker, franchise moneymaker, almost consistent moneymaker. And he basically gave Kurtzman this unbelievable contract where he basically controls all Star Trek and do whatever he wants, and Paramount basically has to pay for it. And if they try and get out of it, the consequences, the penalties for cancelling a contract on him once the start of production is so expensive, it's easier to just stay in production. But the talk now is they're thinking they'd be better off getting out of the contract with him and losing money up front, and basically Batgirling Academy in that, and just like, because it's going to cost them more to keep in production, then they're going to lose less if they just cancel it now. So the talk is, even though he's brought the crew up and that they're doing rehearsals and read-throughs and everything, that they've stopped Academy from going forward, and they want to end Academy, and they want to make Legacy, and they've been trying to get him to make Legacy for a year or so, and he's refused to do it. And all the people who were sort of keeping him in line at Paramount were all fired recently, so now he's just run amok, and that's how we got the Star Trek Riser reality half-hour comedy. So yeah, it's like, with no supervision, that's what he came up with. So they can't afford to waste money on shows that aren't going to make any money or that no one wants. And he's putting two into production that no one wants, that he's just doing for himself, because he's created his own little universe sort of within the Star Trek IP that he owns. So it's so far removed from the 23rd century or the 24th century or the 25th century that, you know, he gets all the money. If anything is monetized from it, he gets it all, and he wants to stay in that universe rather than, you know, producing things in the Star Trek universe which the fans want to see, the 22nd, 23rd, 24th centuries. And yeah, so that's where they're at. He wants to make his shows in his Star Trek universe that he gets all the money for and gets to own, because they can't make Legacy or anything else that he started, because he owns the copyright for that universe. Because they're all different universes. The original canon universe ended in 2005. Then they created the Prime Universe for the JJ films. Then they created the Discoveryverse, which is sort of adjacent to, but actually still different copyright, different universe, although they sort of treat them like the same universe and then pretend like they're the original universe when they're not. And then there's different timelines within those universes as well, so it's just a huge mess. And they just want him to make Star Trek. They just want him to make Star Trek that fans want and will watch and pay money for merchandise, like I used to once upon a time. I used to spend all my money on Star Trek merchandise, and now I spend it on Transformers and Master Universe and Ghostbusters and Smurfs, and now I have a room full of all that stuff instead of, you know, Star Trek. But yeah, so it does seem kind of plausible that the negotiations are tense. The talk is that they're actually mediating. Someone's mediating because they're in a contract with him, they can't get out, but they can't get him to do what they want. So they're trying to get out or trying to get him to make the show that they want, and he won't do it. And the gossip is that he's walked and he's stormed out or been fired, and they're sort of breaking the contract, losing the money, paying the penalties, but getting away from him so they can now make Star Trek in-house on their own terms and put the money straight into the production and actually create a good show instead of giving all this money to them. Only some of it goes to the actual production and the rest just goes to producers and into their pockets, and they're paying him to make the show instead of just paying to make the show. Instead of like $10 million being on screen per episode, it's like $3 million and the rest goes to, all the salaries and producers, and it's just a nightmare situation. I hope they can get out of it. Sounds like they're trying to, but who knows? It could just be made up because that's what we want to hear, because we're desperate. We want Star Trek back. We want hope. But we'll see.